Today we're going to talk about setting valve lash on the 87 Suzuki Samurai. What's up, guys? So got some work to do on the Samurai today. If you've never done it before, hopefully this will help. So the first thing we're going to do is take out the four 10mm bolts holding on the valve cover. After undoing the 10mm bolts, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the breather hose. And I've already done this, but it's really helpful to just go ahead and label your plug wires so you can disconnect them, get them out of the way. Got them set to the side. Now at this point, go ahead and remove the valve cover. And you don't need to, but I'm gonna go ahead and pull spark plugs because it's gonna make it easier to turn the motor over. Your spark plug should be a 13/16 socket. Next thing I want is a 17mm socket to turn the crank. It is built-in compression. So after I've done that, what I want to do is watch the cam lobes, and you can watch the piston to come all the way to the top dead center and then stop. Okay, looks like we're at top dead center. So these are your rocker arms, and they pivot on your rocker shaft. This side pushes on the valve, this side is lifted by the cam. And so you want the bottom of the cam, the part that does not lift, on the intake and the exhaust, which will give you top dead center. With the bottom of the cam being on this side of the rocker, this side of the rocker will be all the way up, which is what you want for checking valve lash. You want to have play right here, or you don't want tension on it, so you can check the lash, the play. Okay, now both sides of the cam on the bottom, so I can check my lash. I want to aim for about 6 thousandths on the intake and about 7 thousandths on the exhaust. Right here I'm a little loose on 5 thousandths. I'm a little snug on 6 thousandths. Pretty happy with that on the intake. The exhaust has. The exhaust is a nice snug 7. Be happy with that. So as far in order goes 1, 3, 4, 2. So here's my number 1. I'm gonna watch number 3 next. Intake is coming up. And now both of these appear to be on the bottom of the cam. Got 7 thousandths, and that's a little loose. I'm gonna go ahead and adjust that one. So to adjust the valve, you need a 12mm wrench and a flathead screwdriver. And just kind of take note of where the screw is at. You can go ahead and put the screwdriver on there. Then break your lock nut loose, keeping the screw in the same position. I'm going to turn it about 1/8 of a turn, snug it back down, and then reach. Nice snug fit. So I've tightened the exhaust down just about a little bit. I'll switch this to the 5 and 6 thousandths billy gauge. Check 5 first. Intake feels pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and rotate this around from 3 to number 4. Number 4's intake valve is coming up. It should be on the base of the cam right there. So now I've got the intake loose. Ooh, wow, that's really loose on 5. Check a 6. 6 is really loose. All right, let's go ahead and tighten that one down. About 1/8 of a turn. Snug it back up. Ooh, 6 is really snug. 5 slips right through easy. I'm pretty happy with that. Right between 5 and 6. Kind of aiming towards the high side of 5. It's like 5.8. And the reason you have a smaller gap on your intake side is because that valve typically stays cooler. You're setting a gap when you do your valve lash adjustment to allow for thermal expansion. So as the parts heat up, they expand a little bit, they get a little bit bigger. And this makes sure that your rocker arm doesn't always hold the valve open, because that'll drop your cylinder pressure, make you lose power, burn valves, all kinds of bad things. So essentially you set a gap so that when it is warmed up, there's not a gap, or there's very, very little gap. Helps keep your motor running quiet and make the most power. So setting your gap to the smaller side of the tolerance is going to be best for power. But if you're going to do a lot of like high revving stuff that might build additional motor heat outside of normal use, then you want to set your gap a little bit on the looser side to allow for any additional thermal expansion, because it'd be better to have just a little bit less power and not burn your motor up. Purely my opinion. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and check the exhaust now. I'm setting these on the smaller side because I don't run this motor very hard. Not for long, not even often. 7's nice and snug. It's good. Alright, so let's go and check number 2. Gonna watch for the intake valve to come all the way up. And then after I watch the intake valve come all the way up, I'm looking at the cam lobe, which is down under the rocker arms, and one side should be pointing kind of down and to the left, the other side should be pointing down and to the right, and you should be on a relatively low spot in the middle, and that should be the base circle of the cam, which is where you want to check all this at. Okay, intake stopped moving. Let's check the cam. Looks pretty good. Let's check the adjustment here. So 7 thousandths on the exhaust side. It's a little bit loose. Tighten that one up. And you could probably leave the feeler gauges in while you snug it down and then get a good feel for the drag coming back out. But it's probably easier for a beginner or somebody to adjust it and then check it to make sure that you don't accidentally do it too tight. So I'll check the 5 thousandths first. Wow, 5 is a little bit snug there. So loosen that one up after I get done dropping the feelers. That was really tight. I'm between 5 and 6 thousandths on the intake. Looks good. So your firing order is 1, 3, 4, 2. And you want to crank the motor over by hand with your 17mm socket until you see the intake valve come all the way up and the exhaust valve all the way up on the compression stroke. So you want these rocker arms to be all the way up, all the way down on the bottom of the cam, giving you the maximum amount of clearance between the valve stem and the adjuster end on the rocker arm. And then once you have that maximum amount of clearance, you're going to measure that. And you want your intake to be right at 6 thousandths, and you want your exhaust to be right at 7 thousandths. And now we're adjusted. Thanks for watching. Hope that helps somebody. Like, subscribe, and y'all take it easy. Hope you come back for more.